You're like, what is going on? That's good
Always a
stuff.
good one to impress. All right, here we go. We're
All right.
recording.
So a couple of things that we're going to do. So we've got the actual follow-up scripts that we're going to send out specifically for the lead follow-up. And Keith, I'm going to let you talk specifically about that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send out another 5, I think, or 6 scripts, which are the just listed script, just sold scripts, the for sale by owner campaign, which is very effective, by the way, just a side note, completely contrary to what any of the for sale by owner classes that you spend $500 to attend. And I'll tell you, it's just very effective. The expired scripts, if you decide to slug it out there, expired still do work, believe it or not. Just another side note on that is that go and take a look at expireds from 6 months ago. No one's working those. And a lot of people will start 90 days or even 60 days. You're going to find it's going to be way more effective than slugging it out with everybody else who's calling them as the minute that they go off the market. And then a past client script. And then finally, these are the lead follow-up scripts, which are very, very simple. Let's see if you see the house, and then objection handling. And along with the objection handling, each one of you also, for the low price of nothing, will also have access to where's that at here? Also have access to the objection handling course. I don't know what happened. I must have clicked out of that, which is not cool. So yeah, here's the objection handling course. So it's basically 3 hours, you know, that you can watch in your car as long as you're stuck in traffic and actually not moving, which is not as often as it used to be. But there's objection handling. There's literally 3 hours, 3 sessions. These are all of the objections that you're going to run into on the phone in the first objection handling series. The second is going to be specifically around for sale by owner, expired, and active buyer and seller objectives, objections, meaning buyers that you're working with right now that are saying things like, I don't like that house, or it's really how to bring them over the tipping point, really manage their expectations. Same with listings. And then also specifically seller objections as well. So you're going to spend a lot of your time in basically 1 and maybe 2. But the seller objection actually is a really interesting one as well that will help you if you are out on listing appointments to really be able to close those listing appointments. So those are the resources, you know, that will give you specifically around call scripts. And then Keith, I'm going to let you talk. It looks like DJ, you know, isn't on the line. But Keith, I'll let you kind of take that as far
I'll
as
grab him. I'll get him on. DJ.
Yeah. Then as far as call scripts and such,
Get kicked out?
going on.
Join again. He said he got kicked out, so we'll get him back here again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just as far as the follow-up lead phone script, DJ, obviously DJ and I, we got on the line, and we just did some role play. And I let you know, DJ be the caller, and I was the customer, and then we reversed roles. So that, like Jody said, is in the process of being transcribed now. And really, the whole focus on this thing, just like any of those scripts, is to give you just 1 minute.
Oh, go ahead,
Okay.
Keith. I was just queuing up the transcripts because I think we're going to send the video out and the transcript version of it because the videos are very effective too.
Right.
As far as how the role play went and allows you to go back and reference it. So sorry, Keith, I didn't.
No problem. Yeah. So I mean, just like I was going to say with that script and the additional other, I believe it's 6 scripts that we'll be providing you guys. These are just really basic guideline in which a call can flow for you. As we know, if you've made a number of calls, as I have, they don't all go perfectly and they don't all go according to script. The idea, like it always is when you receive a script, is to be able to use that as a guideline and to pick some of those important things from that you can incorporate in your version of it. I just think that there are some very fundamental things that need to happen in these calls. And those fundamental things are, number one, getting their guard down, right? And getting them to trust you, right? Because without getting their guard down and getting them to trust you, they're not listening. So, the biggest thing I think about these scripts that you'll find when you're going through them is they're really customer service oriented. And I think all of them are coming in that direction of customer service. And if you've made any number of calls, you know that that's a much simpler call to make than a sales call. So yeah, when those scripts come out, like I said, just use them, go over them, and then put them in your own words. And then don't be afraid to change some things, because this is the one big part about making calls, is that we get to doing something and we get in a rhythm of making these calls, and then we start thinking that, okay, every call should go like this, where they don't. And so be prepared to make those adjustments. Be prepared to try different things as well. And then be prepared to come out of your comfort zone. If you're comfortable making calls right now, that's scary, because I've made thousands of calls and I'm never comfortable making calls to someone I don't know. But at the same time, I'm confident in the information that I'm trying to deliver. So that needs to come across as well. So yeah, you'll see in those scripts. And obviously, if any of you all want to, maybe even have a session, a one-on-one, or just to, do some calls, practice some calls. Yeah, we can definitely do that as well, because I think this is a huge, huge, huge part of what we're doing here. Without those contacts, without being able to convert those, we want to call them warm calls when you're calling, because they have to be that way. We want to make them that way. To be able to convert those is everything. It's the life of our business and what we're doing here. I mean, you're paying for these leads, so we might as well be as efficient as we could possibly be with the leads. We're never going to be 100%, but I'm telling you, 5 to 10% is winning. It's like baseball. I mean, an all-star is bats 300. That's only 3 out of 10 times. So if we can do that, we've got some superstars on our hand.
And I think the other thing that you're going to see in this video that we're going to send out, and the call scripts that we're going to send out, there is clearly a formula. And if you really look at that formula and follow the formula actually is as follows, right? Number one, it's really the introduction, right? And the introduction has to include the premise of your call, right? People want to understand why you're calling them right out of the gate. And by the way, the premise becomes very, very important, because that's the first step in building trust with someone. And building trust with someone is built by doing what you say you're going to do. And so you've got the opportunity to do that. The other aspect of trust is building competence. And competence is built by actually asking appropriate questions to really start uncovering potential needs. Also, there's propriety involved. And propriety is a properness, meaning you're not talking faster or slower or louder or softer than the other person is. You're matching the gait. And so when you really start to apply these things, first of all, the intent, the premise of the conversation, understanding that you're building competence and you're doing what you say you're going to do, that's really going to help you with this call. And you'll see in these videos, DJ literally does that in the first, and Keith as well, does that in the first 5 seconds of the call. And the first thing that is, especially specifically with DJ, is he does what's called a pattern interrupt. And the pattern interrupt is one where he says simply, Keith, that's it. And the pattern interrupt is so powerful because it was just like, is this Keith? Keith, right? And so just the way he says it, it puts the person into, well, oh, okay, well, yeah, you know, this is Keith, right? And it actually does pique their interest for the follow-up. And then just says simply, hey, I'm, you know, following up from .com. Just want to make sure that, you know, the site's working okay for you. And it really is a customer service thing. So what you've done is you've set up the premise of the call, you're building propriety and commonality. And the commonality, by the way, is you're looking for a house and you happen to have solutions for finding a house, right? That's the point of commonality. But then the next phase of that is the questions phase, right? You're not going right into, well, here's what we can do for you, and oh, we're amazing, and I've been an agent for 58 years, and you know, all of that. No, you're asking the questions, and both DJ and Keith do a fantastic job of that in this script and in this video as well. So again, the premise is, okay, here's the intent of the call. You're building commonality. And again, this is happening in the first 15 seconds. You're starting then, and you've earned the right because they understand the intent of your call, the questions. And then it's only after that they've answered an appropriate 3, maybe 4 questions that you can go into a solution, right? Or what would be the presentation mode. And depending on their conversation or depending on their answers to the questions can actually take 3 different categories, right? One would be general questions, right? General questions just simply, hey, you know, what area are you looking in? You know, what's your time frame look like, right? They're just very general. Then you can start getting into specifics, right? Well, if we could find a home for you, you know, in, you know, Queen Anne, that really matched your criteria of 3 bedrooms, 8 baths, right? You know, would that be something that, you know, we'd be able to move forward with, right? So you're really getting specific, you know, with them. And of course, you would have uncovered, you know, how many bedrooms, how many baths, as long as that's appropriate. But also it may just be appropriate to say, hey, listen, you know, I'm going to shoot over some properties for you. Let you take a look because these are the ones that I think, you know, based upon our conversation would fit your criteria, or at least you'd be able to educate. And then, you know, I'll follow up with you, see if there's anything additional that I can provide for you as well. So that really is the cadence, right, of it. Asking questions, then you go into a very brief presentation phase. You do exactly what you say you're going to do. You follow up and then continue to nurture that lead and develop that relationship with them. And you'll see that in these scripts, and you're going to see that in the scripts and the video both, which I think, depending if you're a visual learner or if you're a visual learner or an auditory learner, that will be a good thing for you. So
yeah, you meant Jody, you just mentioned something that that takes me back to some call training, and I'm not even sure if we did it in the script, but the if would or if could, we used to have an actual word, a term for that, but that's a very, very important thing. You know, if I could locate the house that you're looking for, would it make sense for me to show that house to you? Or if I could do this, would this work for you? Or if I could show you this, could I do this? The reason why that works is because, number one, it really ties that person that you're talking to into that specific item. For instance, if you could do what you told them, you asked, say, yeah, I did find you that house. So, you know, you said that if I found you that house, you know, we would be able to go look at it. Now, all of a sudden, you've created a scenario where if they've answered that question, they've already committed to you, which is the first small little commitment that you would love to have. So again, I'm not sure if we put that in the video, but that's just something definitely to remember. That's a key to making these types of calls.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that you're going to find, you know, in this as well, that both Keith and DJ did a great job of, is repeating back to them and validating them, right? So, oh, hey, you know, 3 bedroom, or oh, hey, you're looking in Queen Anne, right? It just subtly makes sure that, or it subtly allows the people to realize that I'm being heard, right? And that really is the foundation of a great relationship, is being a good listener and then being able to feedback what it is that they said, so people know that. And again, it's these very subtle things that once you use them will really help you develop that relationship. So, you know, this particular video is about 8.5 minutes. I would encourage you to play through the sections of it, because it really is a clinic on, you know, how to do these types of calls. And the more that you practice, you know, even yourself going through those scripts and going through those word tracks, man, I mean, it's just really is great stuff. Yeah. Really.
Yeah, and and the more you listen to it, I mean, it becomes part of your vernacular, and you'll start to know when to use it and to know how to use it, and things of that nature. But yeah, that's also a nice piece. Yeah, you want to be able to repeat to them what they've told you, so that they know you've listened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to know that you're listening to them. So yeah, that's a very important part, to just, you know, to recap what they've said, to make sure that you got it clearly. And again, that's part of that relationship building part as well.
Yeah. And again, really, that's the structure or formula of these calls, right? Be very clear about your intent. Start building very, very quickly the trust, getting over the trust barrier by having commonality, doing what you say you're going to do, propriety for a properness. Start entering then into that question phase, which would be the general questions, then the more specific questions, then the qualifying questions that, like Keith said, and DJ, again, did a brilliant job on this video that we'll send to Nick, and Nick will get out to each one of you. Once then you've completed the appropriate questions phase, then you go into the presentation or solution phase, which then you gain the buy-in, and that allows you to just very, very quickly develop a relationship that earns you the right to be able to continue the conversation. And it's imperative that whatever you commit to on that call, you then also follow through, because if you don't follow through with what it is that you said you're going to do, it will break down the trust, and then your next calls will become even more difficult. So, so DJ, yeah, the things that you want to add, you know, to that experience, the video and such that we'll send out, as well as the transcript of the call scripts.
Well, no, what I would nothing necessarily to add, but just maybe echo what Keith was saying. The if I could, would you statement is very powerful. Some people also refer to it as a compelling value statement. And that's what really, where you're expressing what separates you from the broker that works at Windermere that their cousin Joe used to work with. So you really want to develop your compelling value statement and what separates you from the rest of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah, so because again, that really is demonstrating the competence, right? The first portion of the competence, which is a trust builder. They need to know. And again, just the way that DJ and Keith both did this wasn't pushy at all, but it really was confident, not cocky, but confident. They were not above the caller. They were not above the person that they were calling, but neither were they above or below that caller. And I really, again, it really was a clinic. And so I'm excited for each one of you to get copies of that as well as the other 6 call scripts that will help you in being able to make those calls and be comfortable with that. Any questions on that at all? Any questions about kind of this formula for calling, specifically what Keith and DJ have went through, myself? Okay, so you'll get access, of course, to the 3-hour objection handling course, because again, just with these calls, there are going to be objections as well. Literally the top 100 objections are covered. So along with the scripts with them too. You'll get the actual call scripts that you can go through, fill in the blanks. You get this video and transcript. So I'll tell you, you know, Rochelle and Nick are really doing a great job of adding value to you from a brokerage perspective, because I guarantee you that very few, if any, other brokerages are providing this type of support, you know, for you as well. And then Keith's offer for one-on-one, I mean, he is a master caller. There is no doubt about it. He's got a lot of experience, you know, has been doing kind of the Saturday call days. And I think he'll have some additional ones that'll be scheduled here. I encourage you to take advantage of that. You will create a breakthrough in your business that will help you get over, if you're stopped or you're having fear of calling, it will help you break through that barrier. And that really is essential for any of our businesses. So to create
yeah, those Saturday calls have kind of changed the form, obviously, since
right.
COVID.
Room, yeah.
Yeah, we used to get in a room and just kind of a power call and just, you know, really critique and do some things like that. And hopefully it's someday we'll be able to do that again. But again, we do have the ability, even now, like I said, you know, have a one-on-one, you know, make a call, you know,
Connect
we can
on
chat
Zoom.
about it.
Yeah,
We can Zoom, chat about it, how the call went, some of those types of things. So I think that's important, especially if, you know, you're going to make this a big part of your business. Just like any other part of your business, we want to be a professional at this part of our business as well.
Yeah.
So, and it'll do nothing but help us. So yeah, that offer definitely stands. And so yeah, I'm usually working on Saturdays anyway. So
that's right. So so Nick wanted to also cover, because it's come up, about quote unquote duplicate leads. So number one, you will never, the duplicate leads, or a lead that is already in your system that then comes into your system again, and of course you'll be notified of that, does not count against the number of leads that you've paid for or that you should be getting. Does not. So number one, that's very important, right? So a lead that's already in your system, you're not going to pay for it again. Now, when that lead comes back into the system, that's actually that's a positive thing. It's fantastic, because what that means is it means that this lead has already responded to an ad that is on some type of social media platform, YouTube, whatever that may be. They then are coming back because we've put additional advertising in front of them, because we are retargeting them. Because if we already have an interest, meaning they've been on your site, we're also continuing to retarget them because we want to continue the conversation. So anytime you see someone coming back to your site, it may or may not be that they're actually looking at pretty properties on your site. It could be that they're, again, just saying, oh, wow, this is a really cool property. So that's why these search alerts are just so important. When you have a search alert for them, basically their need to search for properties or see properties is filled. They don't necessarily then have to click on advertising or other things that they would see on their social media feeds or on YouTube, because they already have the resources they need to be able to search for it. But oftentimes, again, they'll just be scrolling at night or wherever it may be. They'll be on their social media channels. They'll see this picture and go, oh, wow, you know what, this is interesting. And then guess what? It just leads right back to your site. You've made another impression on that person, which again then continues to help build your ability to earn the right to have a conversation. Because then people are thinking, oh my goodness, you know what? This agent, this broker, is everywhere, right? I've seen this broker multiple times. Wow, they must really, you know, be competent or have a following, or, you know, they've got a broad reach in this particular area or this particular type of home. Does that make sense? Any questions on that at all? Okay, so number one. Sorry, Barb.
No, it's okay. So it is interesting and it's nice, and it's good to know that if you go to the important notes that you're seeing people come back. In my client's case, most of the time, it's or my leads, I guess you'd say, they've come back and they've switched properties. So
Yeah.
it's obviously that they're being retargeted. The challenge is that most of those are bad phone numbers, bad emails. They're people who, and I know by going in at, you know, when they do that and it's a bad number in the system, it pops up and says, do you want to update this number? And if they X out of it, they don't update anything.
Sure.
So
yeah.
that's a frustration, I think. I mean, knowing that we don't get charged again for the leads is great, but at that point, they're kind of repeat offenders.
Totally. You know, good news, bad news, right? Good news, they're still looking for a house. Bad news, we can't have a conversation with them about it. Barb, are you utilizing the Spokio login at all?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And I will say that recently I've had quite a few that the numbers don't match. They don't match at all. In fact, I've had quite a few texts in the last couple of weeks of, and I thank the people who do it, but you know, this isn't me. Stop texting me. Well, now we've really cut our potential communication down to emails, and I'm finding that more and more. I mean, they aren't just non-existent phone numbers, which also is there. A lot of no messages on the voicemail, so you don't know if you got the right person, but when you put them in Spokio, the numbers don't match.
Yeah. So, you know, Spokio actually literally tracks their transient phone numbers from, you know, when they actually even had a landline, right? So if there's any type of phone number that they've put on credit applications or any kind of applications, it's in Spokio. So oftentimes you'll see 5 or 6 different numbers for someone. And when you see that, you can see either they're changing cell carriers and changing their number, which for me, I mean, I've had the same phone number for a lot of years, and I don't really understand it. But there are people, and there's other people, of course, that they will intentionally put that number in. And there's others that just plain have not updated their Google profile or Facebook profile, their YouTube profile, which is where we take that information from. So you are going to run into that. It should be not the majority of cases, but the minority of cases. And of course, in those particular cases, we're replacing those leads. I mean, if you don't have the ability to contact those folks, you know, that's not fair. It's nice if at some point they call you because they are constantly being redirected to your site. And at least if they have at least from an advertising perspective, because if they have no phone or email, that's really the only way to have them return. And sometimes they just fat finger the number, you know, as well. They'll miss a digit. So be looking for that in Spokio as well. But no doubt you're going to run into that, you know, because people don't know you. And, you know, oftentimes they'll modify that email address or whatever just to get that result. I do it myself, which I know is probably frustrating for other people too. So yeah, I think it's just part of the game. But what's important, Barb, is that you know that those leads will always be replaced, and you won't get charged for any that are those situations too, because we're monitoring that as well.
Hey, one other thing, Barb. People that do that and they still end up showing up, that, like he said, that's an awesome thing. That's a good thing. Because they're not allowing you to contact them right now is really just telling you that they're just not ready for you to contact them. Believe me, they find something that they really love and they want to know a little bit more about it. They're going to figure out a way to get in contact with you, or you know, to reach back some sort of way. So don't ever take it personal.
Oh God, no.
Just know that, you know, they're putting they all do this. They're putting false information out there because they're just not quite ready for you to call them yet or to contact them yet. But that doesn't mean that time won't come. So
it's not a problem. I think Redfin, you know, is really frustrated with me. So it's that part's fine. It's honestly, I think, you know, other people would, you know, probably say the same thing. Since it is a numbers game, then we need more numbers. I think that's the bottom line. is that you need more numbers so that these just filter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they're
be
there.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Barb, but you got to be very, very efficient with those numbers as well. We can't be wasting leads
Right.
with bad phone calls or not making the phone calls on time, and making the wrong type of phone calls. Like we talked about some of the key elements to those calls. If you're missing some of those key elements in those calls, you're burning some leads. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's
just the reality
absolutely.
of it. Yeah. So numbers is, yes, we need the numbers, but we don't need to be throwing away and wasting leads either. We need to be very efficient with those leads when we can.
And that's one of the things, Barb, that I really, really appreciated about you.
Mhm.
You are consistent. You have a formula. You understand this game, and you show up, right? You show up and suit up, for these calls, and I just really appreciate that, about you as well. I appreciate the consistency, and I appreciate how you're approaching, and then the modification of your approach, and you're constantly learning and really open to that. And I appreciate that, Barb. Very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Nick, Rochelle, Craig?
No, I'm good.
We all good? All right, we'll get those sent out. Keith will make sure, of course, that the link, if you can make sure the link to the video goes out. The
Yes.
transcribing service still has that file.
Okay.
And then I'm going to shoot you the call scripts as well, so you can consolidate and get that over to Nick, and then Nick can distribute that to the folks. And by the way, too, Nick, I mean, this is great information for everybody. So to the
Yeah.
extent that you, Rochelle, decide whatever you want to do with it, man, give it to everybody if that's what you want to do, or just give it to the folks, or use it as a recruiting tool, or whatever. You have complete license to do whatever you need to do in order to be able to improve your business. So, okay.
Appreciate that. Yep. Thanks, Jody.
All right.
Yep.
We'll catch up with you later.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Have a good
All right.
one.
See you next
Free
week.
call if you need anything, guys.
All right, Keith. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
So, do you want to stop recording?